Okay, everybody can take your seats, silence your phones, and end your conversations, please. We are going to begin. Welcome to Alaska's Gold Rush for preparation for 2022. It's a candidate training event and last night's wonderful social. Thank you for all who did attend. And sorry, Kryssi, but we have a few more that still need to wander in hungover, so they might miss your introduction. Our first presenter is Kryssi Wichers. She is the communications director of the Ohio LP, has been involved in numerous great libertarian campaigns, and has successfully fought on a number of occasions, and sorry about this past year, Kryssi, but has defeated some of the most onerous ballot access laws in the nation. So looking forward to hearing from Kryssi. She's going to talk to us about what to do before you even declare as a candidate for your preparation. So take it away, Kryssi.
All right. Hi, guys. It's so nice to be with you all. I actually think it might be warmer there than where it is here. So that kind of sucks. So again, like you said, I've had a number of titles in this party. I'm sure like many of you, we all have a whole stack of them, right? But my favorite title that I've had is a campaign manager. And that's kind of where a lot of this presentation comes from. This was put together by a lot of libertarians. The main libertarian that compiled this info for all of us is Jess Mears. She is formerly one of the employees with National. And so basically, I'm Jess Mears, like if you ordered me on Wish. So let's get started. The reason why this is titled the way it is if you want to respect sausage or law, don't watch either being made. But that's what we're doing, right? We're making the sausage. We are doing the behind the scenes. As we stand right now, we have 230 elected libertarians. 97 of them are partisan, 133 nonpartisan. So obviously you can see which one we do a lot better in. Well, before we get to the question, fun fact, millennials are now the largest voting bloc, and 44% of independents are millennials. So that's like where we need to be going forward, especially for states without ballot access or libertarian registration. So these are going to be at least 16 questions you should ask yourself before you even make the decision to announce you're running for office. Have you conducted a thorough review of your history? Now, obviously, that means do you have a criminal record? And while we're libertarians, we don't give a shit. I don't know if I'm supposed to cuss, but I don't care. So we don't care, but voters do. And that doesn't necessarily preclude you from running for office. You just need to be able to have a plan in place, a crisis management plan. You need to let every single person on your campaign team know so that way they're not bombarded. I had a criminal history when I ran for office, that pesky marijuana laws down in Florida when I was on spring break. And luckily I was already ahead of it. And when the media asked me about it, I had said, okay, well, I'm running to decriminalize marijuana. So again, you just want to make sure you're ahead of it. And number two, what is your current life situation looking like? And what do you have coming in the future? So are you planning a big vacation? Are you going through a divorce? Are you getting married? Or just any kind of life situation? You want to make sure that when you're running for office, you don't have any of these. You don't go and hang out at the beach while you're running for office. You don't go to another state. You don't go and do any of that. You need to be running for office. And here, let me move my head a little bit. What kind of candidate do you want to be, and what are your goals in running? So that means, and I'm sure we've all seen the chart, right? If you're a paper candidate all the way to all out. Now, a paper candidate, that could be just, maybe you need ballot access. Maybe you want to just at least get a message up there. Maybe you just don't want someone to be running unopposed. So that would be putting in barely any time, maybe a website and filing to run for office. And then right there in the middle, you're going to have maybe about 10 hours on your campaign. You're going to have the website, you're going to have social media, you're going to be active on it, you're going to go to debates, but you're not going to be doing all the crazy stuff, right? The crazy stuff being the all-out candidate, where you're going to be fundraising, you're going to be knocking every door. You better wear out those shoes, honey. You are going to be doing every single thing you see the Republicans and Democrats doing. You're going to go kiss babies, shake hands, or shit, shake babies, kiss hands, whatever you want to do, but you need to do it if you're going to go all out. So moving on to number 4, is your family, especially your spouse, supportive of your interest in running? Now, I don't know about you, but my husband thinks I'm crazy every time I say, I think I'll run for something. Now, while he might be joking, a lot of our spouses, they're not. I'm lucky. My husband is a libertarian and active in the Libertarian Party, but it's a really big commitment. This is a full-time job if you're going all out. And even if you're not going all out, you're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to have the media coming after you, and they might come after your family. If you know anything about my background from when I ran for office, the Republican Party said that my husband didn't exist. And so my last name wasn't actually my last name. We had to go to court at the Board of Elections, and with our marriage certificate, our tax returns, all of that. Luckily, they ruled unanimously in my favor, but that wasn't very fun for my husband, who didn't make the choice to sign up for this. Number 5, do you know what it takes to win? That's your win number. Here in a couple of slides, I have a website that you can go to and figure that out, but you need to definitely know your win number. You need to know exactly how many voters it will take to win. This changes whether you're in a 2-person race, 3-person race, 4, and so on. Number 6, are you comfortable asking for donations? While we might all think that we're fine asking for money, a lot of people are really nervous about this, and that's a normal thing. But you need to be able to, every single time you have a conversation with someone, it needs to end with, will you give me money? And that needs to be the most spoken word that you have. Will you give me money? Number 7, are you currently, right now, right this second, well networked in your community? Now, that means we can't just, I know we're libertarians, we all, hang out in our basements, but we cannot just leave the basement and go run for office. Are you a member of your Rotary Club? Do you participate in local community activism? Are you a volunteer? You need to be well networked. People need to know who you are. The first time someone hears about you shouldn't be when you're filing to run for office, because nobody cares about someone who's just throwing their name in. They want to know that you are actually dedicated to helping this community. What's the right office for you? You wouldn't believe it, but libertarians have big dreams. So I've heard many times when I've done candidate recruitment in Ohio, oh, I would like to run for attorney general. And I say, oh, where do you practice law? Oh, I'm not an attorney. I mean, come on. Obviously, you need to know what's right for you. There's an office for everyone. Here in Ohio, our coroner is an elected position. I mean, so if you're a doctor, shit, fuck it, let's be a coroner. And you are actually the highest elected official in your county in Ohio if you're the coroner. So make sure that when you look for an office, it's the right one. Number 9, have you sat through the meetings of the office in which you are seeking? Again, this is kind of like the, just not knowing anyone in your community, not participating. This is really important. You need to be seen, you need to be known, and most importantly, you need to be knowledgeable. You should be going, if you're running for city council, you should be at every single meeting a year before you announce you're running for city council. Same with any office. That not only helps you learn the process, it helps you learn the people that you're going to be working with. It helps you learn community members that frequent these meetings. And that way, you're able to start something, you're able to start having these conversations, you're able to start looking for endorsements. Number 10, you need to know why you're running for office. Sounds easy, right? Well, it's not really that easy for a lot of people, because they say, I'm running for office because fuck the status. I'm running for office because I don't like insert party here. No, you need to have a concrete reason for why you're running. For me personally, I was running because I have a child that I would love to see grow up in a freer community. And I would like to see my community helped by nonpartisan officials like myself. Number 11, this one is one we kind of fall short on a lot as libertarians. We need a campaign team. You cannot do this alone. Nobody can. Your campaign team needs to be extensive, not just a campaign manager, but you need to have a treasurer. Of course, you have to have that by most standards. You need to have an events director, you need to have a communications director, you need to have a youth outreach, you need to have every single type of campaign team member, because your job is not to do all of those things. Your job is to shake hands, smile pretty, participate in debates, and get that money, honey. So sorry, my cat's trying to get involved here. So you need to get an entire team together so you can focus on being the face. Number 12, have you volunteered for a campaign before? If this is your first foray into, especially libertarian politics, where we're kind of on our own, you need to have volunteered, I would say, for at least 3 or 4 campaigns. If you feel comfortable after one, more power to you. But I mean, 3 or 4 campaigns, you'll start understanding that working knowledge. You'll see the random things that happen. You'll see just the institutional stuff. And for me personally, I refuse to volunteer on a campaign where they have not volunteered themselves. It's a lot of work to work for someone for free. And if that person hasn't gave what at least I'm willing to give to them, then why would I want to work with them? It's kind of like pay your dues, you know? There ain't no such thing as a free volunteer except if you volunteer yourself. We can make that our slogan next time. So moving on to number 13 here in a minute. Let's see here. Do you know what concerns the people in your community? Again, no brainer, right? But no, again, we really fall short on this. We think we know every single thing that everyone's thinking, and that's not true. In most areas, they don't care about property rights. They don't want to hear you quote Rothbard. They're not impressed by any of, your whatever economic theory you subscribe to. They're interested in how you can help with their specific issues. I managed a campaign here in Ohio, and oddly enough, the main campaign issue, once we focus grouped, was a lot of rats and the sewer policies. So we had to really research and come up with a plan, and that's what we incorporated into our platform, because we were not about to, again, quote Rothbard, while these people are worried about rats in their homes because the city's so damn dirty. Next, are you comfortable in front of media, cameras, and participating in live interviews? Now, it's okay if you're not yet. That's totally fine. Like I said, these are all things you should be working on a year or two before you even announce. Go and join a Toastmasters group. Practice, practice, practice. Sit in front of camera. I mean, shit, go start a podcast. The rest of us do it. Start a podcast, get comfortable in front of the cameras. It's actually pretty intimidating to be either in a debate or giving a speech, and you might think you know everything you're about to say, but once you get up there, like, uh-oh, you lost it all. You don't want that to happen. Politicians aren't elected because they're smart. They're elected because they have charisma and they can talk. So go and learn that. That's not a hard skill to learn. Number 15, are you willing to do things you do not want to do? Now, that means that you are, again, you're not the boss. You're the candidate. The boss is the campaign manager, and then whoever the campaign manager puts underneath them. Your job is to do what they tell you. I mean, that was really hard for me when I ran for office. I was like, no, I want to do this. My campaign manager said, no, you're doing that. And I threw a huge fit, but I had to do it anyway because that's their job. Their job is to do that. So if your campaign manager says, girl, you need to put on a wig because your hair looks crazy, that's a real true story. I wouldn't put on that wig. Number 16 on our list of questions before we move on and get a little bit more in depth, will you leverage your network? Now, again, this is like the third most we fall back on as libertarians thing. Really hard time asking people to support us. We have a hard time talking to our friends and family about this. I mean, of course, we can tell them all our opinions, right? But it's really hard to say, not only do I need you to vote for me, but I need you to set up a meeting with all of your friends and all of your extended family so I can talk to them and show them why I'm the best option for this community. So it's not just asking mom and dad to vote for you. It's asking mom and dad to go to their church, their work, their wherever, and get those people to listen to you. You can really appeal to family members by using that whole emotion thing. But when we start our network of voters, that's where it's going to start. And that's where you have to start if you want to get a good push. Now there's three types of campaigns, right? Federal, state, local. And obviously we do way better in local races. Fun fact, I'm sure you all know, in Alaska, one of your candidates, I believe he was running for Senate, maybe Congress, it has to be either of those, got the highest percentage of any Libertarian against a Democrat or Republican. He had gotten, I believe, 26% again, beat out the Democrat. And while he didn't beat the Republican, he still got second place in a federal race. That's unheard of. That's awesome. That's the federal stuff. That's a lot harder to do. When you're running statewide, that's, I mean, good luck. That's more of like, at least for us, a ballot access race. That is a get out the message race. We all saw Donald Rainwater. He did a fantastic job differentiating himself and making him really successful. I believe he got 12 or 13%, but he did a really good job. And that's really a high mark for a federal race. As far as state goes, that's your state house, your state senate. Those ones are a little bit easier to do. Still kind of hard though, because the districts are pretty big. Personally, my district, I was in rural Ohio at the time, but my district still had 39,000 voters. And that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot of doors to knock. And that's just 39,000 voters, not just, people who live there. When you go into local though, that's where it gets good. That's where we win. If you look around and find a race that does not have an opponent, put your name in. If you find a race, for instance, here in Ohio, again, I'm going to keep referencing Ohio because it's my state, gotta OH represent. Out here in Ohio, we had an entire city that did not have anyone running for city council or mayor. Tell me why. None of us just moved there. I don't know. But when you run in a local race, you are a lot more connected and you're able to really showcase why libertarianism and volunteerism can work. For the rat issue, we ended up doing a lot of more natural, more holistic methods in our planning when we planned that, and we were able to show that we didn't need the government to do that. We just asked a lot of residents to help us in, and actually, even though my candidate did not win, that problem was actually able to be cleared because of her volunteerism. So that's where you really want to be. When you are about to announce, you want to make sure that you already have answered the 16 questions. You need to have a comprehensive campaign plan. And I'm not talking like, okay, I'm going to go to the stores, I'm going to get these voters, and then I'm going to win. That's not a campaign plan. Your binder should be this thick if you're running for local, this thick if you're running for state, and a giant like thesaurus if you're running for federal. You need to have a plan for every single thing that you're going to do or that you plan on doing. And you need to have a commitment to carry out that plan. You need to make sure that that is your first priority until your election day. Yeah, obviously you must have a written campaign plan to make sausage. We're really excited about that campaign plan, guys. Plan the work, then work's a plan. As Jess says, does she put that in there? It's someone's uncle that said that. You're going to have 10 campaign plan components: targeting and demographics, opposition research, political environment, goals, your goals, that's important, your messaging and issues, fundraising, your field development, communications, media, your timeline, and your team behind my big head. Now, your goals. What is different about you than the Republicans and Democrats? I see a lot of people who like to be the Republican light, or maybe even the Democrat who likes guns. We are way better than that. We're not fiscally, conservative and socially liberal. No, we are our own party. We have our own ideas, and we're not the best of both worlds because there ain't nothing good about those worlds. We are the best option, and you need to differentiate yourself. Your entire campaign plan needs to revolve around these goals and needs to revolve around differentiating yourself. That's what Donald Rainwater did. If any of you are familiar, his governor was very, he says he's a Republican, right? But he liked to raise taxes. He was for the mask mandate and the lockdown. But Donald Rainwater made sure to stand out by being against all of those things and being very articulate and clear about that. So he didn't look like he was Republican light or a Democrat who liked guns. He looks like a libertarian. And that's what we want to be. You're targeting in demographics. See, this is that website I promised you. I told you. So this is going to be wherever my head should go. The website that helps you calculate your win number. There's many websites out there. Just Google it. But this tells you how many votes you need to win, which can then lead you to determining how many doors you need to knock, how many mailers you need to send out, how many pieces of lit you need to print. So that's a very important number, and that should be done immediately. And as far as demographics go, you need to know, do you live in, a retirement village, or do you live where it's young and hip and, a little more fun? That's where you're going to get us cool people and us millennials who vote independent. That's where your bread and butter is going to be. But you need to know those things. How many people are married? How many households? How many whatever? They need to be broken down all the way down to, are they married, in college, have kids, all of that. And that's what your win number is going to help you decide as well. You need to definitely look at your prior elections. When you do your win number, it's going to have you look at the past 3 elections. I would go back 5. You are going to want to look at whatever year you're running on. Let's say you're running in a presidential year. You want to look at the last at least 3 of those presidential years, and you want to look at least 5 of all of the elections of your race. You want to do this because you need to see how the voter turnout is, what the trend is, and you want to look at what they did. Why reinvent the wheel? If something was successful, look at that. And you definitely need to identify the voters you need to reach. And that, again, is by looking at your demographics and really taking that down to a science. When you do that, you're going to run into the standard turnout model. Again, you can Google that. You can just put some numbers in a little machine and it'll tell you all of this fun stuff about your area. I found that what is it? Ballotpedia, they have a pretty good breakdown. So definitely look at those things. As far as developing a winning scenario, you want to win, right? So what is that going to look like? It's going to look like this many votes by this many people in this area. That's what you need to have in your campaign plan. You need to identify potential coalitions and community influencers. Now, that doesn't mean Instagram influencers, guys. That means maybe, for instance, here in Ohio, I'm heavily affiliated with our marijuana decrim. Different coalitions. They're called Central Ohio, and I'm sure everyone's heard of Normal. So we work with them extensively. I work with the Greens. I work with a lot of the environmentalist groups in my area. Pretty eclectic. But you need to make yourself eclectic, and you need to start joining some of these coalitions and forming coalitions of your own, because that is who is going to vote for you. That's who's going to stump for you. That is who is going to reach out to their network. When Spike came out to Ohio, we took him to a BLM rally, and instead of him giving a speech, he just went ahead and listened, not talked to, listened to the organizers and heard what was most important to them. And when he did that, he was able to really understand their concerns and then shows kind of how we work and how we operate as far as solutions go. And within a few weeks, the entire network of BLM chapters endorsed Jorgensen and Cohen because that coalition was built. And they posted about us all over their social media. They carried signs at their rallies. And that's invaluable. And lastly, for targets and demographics, you want to get a list of endorsements. If you're running for city council and you have a few city council members that are on their way out, they're retiring, they're not running again, ask them for an endorsement. I know we don't like to talk about this, but unions, you can go to any of the unions, ask for their endorsement, and just continue making lists of what you can do to get these people's endorsements. Small business owner coalitions, there's so many that we have. And again, you can get an entire chapter of a marijuana decrim or some kind of harm reduction, and that's always really valuable because typically they go after Democrats who we know that don't help them at all in their goals. Opposition research, this is a fun one. So you have to know every single thing about your opponents in order to even consider winning. This is your campaign strategy. It depends on knowing your opponents. You're going to conduct an analysis of your opponent's issues. Every single thing he says. Does he say he wants to cut taxes, but last year he voted to raise taxes? bitch, that's going in your mailer. You need to look at all of that. You need to look at their criminal record. Again, I know we're libertarians and we don't care, but we're not a political club. We're a political party, and we run races to win. So we have to play their game. You're going to look at their criminal record, and if you got to, you got to expose it. And you know, wait till October, though. It's called an October surprise. You're going to look at their prior campaigns. You're going to research every single part of it. If they're the incumbent or if they ran before. You're going to look at all of their debates. You're going to learn their style. You're going to learn what gets them off and what gets them pissed off. You want to know every single thing about this person. You want to know all of their high profile associations too. For instance, here in Ohio, our Speaker of the House is homies with Roger Stone. That's important to know when he's batshit crazy. So you're going to look at all of those things. As far as messaging and issues, only 7% of what you say is, or what people retain from what we say, is actual words that we use. I mean, for instance, I'm pretty animated when I talk. I'm sure a lot of you are like looking at, you know, how big my eyes get, how smiley I get, how my arms move around. And I'm sure that that's more, you're looking at that more so than even listening to the words that I'm saying. A lot of it is your voice, your tone, and clothing and grooming, guys. I know we like to wear fedoras, and I know we don't like to shower, but we're going to have to start. We need to be presentable at all times. And that means looking like a politician. If you have a little bit of an eclectic look, maybe you have like different colored hair or you got piercings, that's totally fine. But you got to have clean hair and clean piercings, okay? You only have 7 seconds to make that first impression. Moving on. So when you're looking at the message and the issues, what I would do personally is, and this is what I did personally, is you're going to analyze how you vote, who is like you and who is not like you, and then you're going to get the people who aren't like you, and you're going to focus group the issues that you vote for. You need to take each issue. Let's pretend that you didn't listen to a thing I said and wanted to go and rant about property rights. You need to take that to a group of people who are comprised of Democrats, Republicans, independents, and even non-voters. And you can do that as you can get your family, you can get your friends, you can get someone in your network's friends or family, but you need to get a group together and make sure what you're saying not only is relevant, but what you're saying comes off as clear and concise. Now, that's how you win voters. Let's look at that again. The Libertarian name recognition percentage. Actually, when this presentation was first put together, we had a number. It was super low. This was around the Gary Johnson time. It's a little bit higher now. Unfortunately, it's not that great. It's not a great recognition of us, and a lot of that has to do with, you know, the internet libertarians are the loudest, right? They're the ones that don't do any of the work, but make sure that they throw our message in the toilet. Well, we can be that libertarian. We can be the good libertarians. We can be the ones that show with our actions, show with our words, and show just with our kindness that we are the libertarians to look at rather than those loud weirdos on the internet. What percentage of people even understand libertarian ideology? I'm betting that number is like less than like 3%. Every single time I say I'm a libertarian, people go, what? Or my favorite is, oh, like, aren't you guys like crazy, like Alex Jones? Or don't the Koch brothers like give you guys money? And no, they don't. I wish I could take their money. But, you know, that happens all the time. I mean, it was worse back in, like, I'd say 2014 when people would say, did you mean to say librarian? But now at least people know the word, but a lot of people don't know our ideology. And the way to change that is, again, participating in our community and being a volunteerist. My county party decided to adopt a highway. So not only are we showing our community that we care about it by picking up trash without the government telling us to, but we have a giant sign that says highway adopted by the Libertarian Party. So to do things like that is really important. You guys might remember a couple years ago when the government got shut down, all the parks went without getting cleaned, and Jess Mears organized an initiative for a bunch of different parties to go and clean their state parks. That got so much media that, you know, it was all over. I think it even made national media. It was everywhere because we took the initiative to do what the government declined to do because they weren't getting paid. Now, that's how we get our recognition, not only percentage up, but get the good of us up, because we are great people, most of us, some of us, I think, I hope. Now, again, our actions speak louder than words. When we're running for office, we want to run on libertarian issues and solutions without, they should know who we are without us even saying the word libertarian. They should know that we are caring, we are kind, we care, we believe in freedom, and we believe in using our minds and our bodies to attempt what the government wants to force us to do. We all know if we weren't getting taxed out our assholes, we'd probably donate to charity more, right? We'd have more money. We need to show that that's who we are. We need to take our liberty lens and apply it to their issue. Cassandra Fryman, badass Madam Mayor Cassandra Fryman here in Ohio, she not only decriminalized cannabis in her area, here in Ohio, we have mayor's courts. All of our really low infractions go through there, and the mayor is actually kind of the judge. She threw out a bunch of speeding tickets one day because they were all they were all victimless crimes, right? So she threw them all out. Why give them a fee? Why give them points if these people can, better themselves and not have to be shut down by the hands of the government? That is an issue that we put a liberty lens on. We can do that. We can get people to understand us and our ideology if we start using our actions more so than our words or whatever we write on the keyboard. Your message is why you are running and what you'll do if elected. Now, that's super simple. I've seen a lot of people when they write their mailers, when they write multiple paragraphs, so many paragraphs. No, don't do that. This is another thing you can focus group. You need to keep it short and sweet. When I focus grouped my lit, I had in there about income tax here in Ohio. We did not have one until about 30 years ago. So I'm trying to take that bitch away. And when we focus grouped it, of course, I'm a libertarian, so I had like 85 million words, and people lost interest within like probably a second of reading. So I got it down to, I wanted to end the income tax, and you would get $1,400 extra a month if we did. Average. I mean, that's a little high, but hey, we rounded. So that is simple enough, right? We're showing people how much money we can save them. So keep it super duper simple. As like when it comes to slogans, I've seen so many long slogans like vote for me because I'm awesome and they're not. No, your slogan should be probably 3 words. I'll go ahead and give you this since you're libertarian. 4 words max. Now, we all remember Johnson Wells, vote free. We remember Trump, MAGA. That was an old tip to Reagan. And those are really simple, easy to remember, and easy to brand slogans. So keep it simple, stupid. Moving on, your team. This is kind of a reiteration of what I said earlier. The candidate's job is to fundraise, attend events, knock doors, and be super cute and ready for media and ready to go. Your team does everything else, and don't you micromanage, because I guarantee you, if they're working for free, especially, they're not going to be around long. You need to let them do their job. If you don't trust them, get a new one. So you should have a campaign manager, a strategic advisor, at least one, a campaign fundraiser. A lot of times, if you think you can't hire one because you don't have the money, these can be commission based. They take in what they maybe 2, 3, 4 up to 10% of what they raise. You need to have a volunteer coordinator. You need to have an event planner, someone who's going to look at every single event, look at your schedule you to be there. You need student outreach. You need someone who's going to, if you have a college in your town, even a high school, ask your student outreach person to get you in to speak at the high school. I do speeches all the time at my old high school because A, what other libertarian is in my area but me, and B, because it's a way for me to indoctrinate the youth. Propaganda works every time, but it's a way for them to see that there's another party, not just Republicans and Democrats. You need a legal advisor, even if that's someone that's not directly on your team full time. You need to be able to look for someone if you run into a little bit of trouble, because it happens, especially libertarians. They call them cops on us all the time. And I know we all like to say, like, after us, we're running for office. It's fuck you, Popo. Okay, don't call him a pig. You need a scheduler. This can work hand in hand with your event planner. If you need to make phone calls, if you need, you should be down. If you're running an all-out campaign, your scheduler should be scheduling when you're allowed to take a shit. Okay. You need a treasurer. This should not be a family member. You need someone outside. This is the only other, besides the candidate, the only other team member that can go to jail for your campaign. So it needs to be someone who is outside, someone who's not emotionally involved with you, someone who's not going to be like, okay, yeah, I guess you can buy that with campaign funds. You need someone who's not going to do that. You need a field director. So someone who's going to do your demographics, someone who's going to go and do some recon in the area, someone who's going to recruit from those different areas for you. You need a communications director. Yeah, that's what I do. You need someone who knows the press, the PR, who knows how to do PR, someone who can keep all of your media functions cohesive, your social media, your traditional media, your digital media, all of that needs to be under your communications director. You need a constituency organizer. That's someone who's going to be focused squarely on voters and their demographics. And last but not least, IT and graphics. You need your website. You need that to be perfectly running. We all remember when Joe Jorgensen's website went down the night of the first presidential debates. We probably lost a lot of traffic there, a lot of donations, just because that website went down. You need to not have that happen. And your graphics should not look like you made it in Photoshop. Correction. They should not look like your 13-year-old made it in Photoshop. I've seen some graphics and it's ugly. We are lucky and blessed in the Libertarian Party to have a lot of graphic designers, a lot of people that do those kind of things, and they'll do it for free as long as you promote their stuff. So definitely get good graphics. For your communications, again, you have that nice website, but more importantly than any part of all of this, as far as communications goes, you need to collect data. If you're running a paper campaign, even, you should still be collecting data. If you're running any campaign, data is so important because you can use that for at least probably valid six or so years, or for at least 2 or 3 cycles, that data is going to be super valuable. You're gonna want to, when you go and like knock doors, the first round of doors, because all voters need 3 touches. Your first round of doors, you should be asking what their topics are, what topics are most important to them, and that what goes in your data. You're going to plan out your emails and your events, and you're going to plan all of those and have those ready to go, instead of like, oh shit, it's Christmas, let me write something real quick. Those need to all be ready to go. I don't care if it's May. You can, I believe in you. Your communications director can do that. You need to plan your mailers and associated costs to your targeted voters. That doesn't say to all voters. Not all voters need a mailer. If they're over the age of 55 to 60, and they're an active voter, and maybe they are tied directly to a party, then yes, they need a mailer. They might not be on social media. They might not be anywhere where you can put ads. They still like getting that old-fashioned mailer with your pretty face and your husband giving the thumb up, or your wife baking cookies on the front. That's what they need. That's what it is. That's what the old parties do, and we got to play their game. You need to look at how much those are going to cost, though, because those are going to be pretty pricey compared to digital ads. So that's why you want to make sure those are super hardcore targeted. Media, as a lot of people know, this is my favorite thing to do. I am a press release kind of gal. You should have a press release for every single thing you do. Did you go to the grocery store and shake 5 voters' hands? All right. Well, candidate makes excursion to local small business. That you need a press release for every single thing you do. When you first launch your campaign, you need to have together your entire press kit. It's going to have your bio. It's going to have high resolution photos. That means you're not going to download them from Facebook. You're going to get some pictures done, and you're going to have good high resolution photos. You're going to have your digital literature. That means it's going to be links to all of your different websites, all your different places where you have maybe videos, and you're going to have a one pager of issues. That doesn't mean front and back. It doesn't mean super tiny font. You're going to have one page because reporters are kind of lazy and you have to do their job for them. So you need to have only one page of what you most need to go out there. And if they don't report on you within like a couple days, then you're going to send them reminder emails. Yay. Because we already know we're already annoying. Let's use it to our advantage. You need, digital marketing. This one's fun. So earned media, paid media, owned media. These are all different types of media. Your earned media, that's going to be when people, maybe you could have a newspaper written about your newspaper article written about you, when people write a post about you. That's going to be something that you don't have to pay for, but that you didn't create yourself. That's really, really important. Donald Trump won on this. Analysts say that he got a total of $2 billion-ish worth of free media just from earned media, and he won. So clearly there's something to that. Your paid media, that's going to be as far as digital marketing, that's going to be your pay-per-click ads, that's going to be your content promotion, your social media ads, that's going to be anything that you pay for. As far as owned media, that's going to be your website, your social media. That's going to be anything that you own that your team puts out for you. Now, you need to have all of those. You need to be like right in that middle sweet spot where you have a little bit of everything. As far as paid media goes, if we're going traditional, billboards, yard signs, while do very about 2% of voters say that they were swayed by a yard sign, we only get like that much. So we should definitely still do that, especially while it's inexpensive. Moving on to field. So with canvassing, again, you're going to want to get data, and you can use a canvassing app for that. Now, the Republicans have I-360, and while yes, it's super fucking awesome, it's also the Republicans, so it's giving them the data that we're collecting. That's also really expensive. We used one called Voter Science. There's quite a few out there that you can use that are relatively inexpensive, and you can load, if you're running a local race, you can load all of your voters in there for maybe like a couple $100. When you collect data, again, you're going to ask for their top issues and follow up if the opposition, if your opponent flips on that issue that they care about. Okay, now you know who to go to. By the way, Sue, did you see that he raised taxes after he said he was going to lower them? Well, not me. I'm really great. You can't catch me in a lie because I've never been elected. Don't say that. But, you know, we can go and we can be that differentiating factor from that flip-flopper. You want to ask if you can put up a yard sign if they're feeling you a little bit, even if just a little bit. Feel like you're looking at, okay, can I put up a yard sign in your yard, please? And you want to come back. Hopefully you already have them with you, but if you don't, come back with a yard sign and place it in their yard for them. You're going to ask if they really feel you, you're going to ask for a donation. You should ask for a donation to every single person who even slightly says that they'll vote for you. If they are okay with you putting a yard sign in their office, ask them for double what you would ask anyone else. Ask them if they want to volunteer. A lot of people get inspired by a third-party candidate knocking on their door, especially someone who comes across as wanting to help their community. You can say, hey, why don't you join us? We really love your help. Ask them to volunteer. And of course, ask them for your vote. With phone banking, again, you can use a phone banking app, but you need to get that data. Use a script. Don't go off script. Don't just, I'm going to wing it. Don't do that, because you never know what the voter is going to say back, and you should have already an if this, then that script. If they say this, then we say that. And that can start as very simple and grow as you get those responses. When you're doing any type of phone banking, you're going to want to have some kind of report to give. Maybe if this is your second or third touch with them, you're going to want to say, hey, we raised $1,000 last week, and our goal this week is 2,000. Can you help us reach it? You know, depending on what your specific goal is with your phone banking that day, you need to make sure you let them know what you've been up to, because they don't want to see someone dead in the water, right? They want to see someone limit. Have some parties. That's how you get volunteers. Have people over, give them some cannabis. No, just kidding. Or not kidding. Uh, give them pizza, have some fun, maybe a couple beers, everyone have a good time. Phone banking parties make it fun to call people and annoy them. As far as events goes, you're definitely going to do every single parade, every parade. You want to be the one walking in it, and you don't want to be in the car because that looks lazy. You want to be walking, shaking hands. Media's out there all the time, and they'll announce your name over their little loudspeaker when you walk past it. So you want to be in the parades. You want to do all the different community organizational stuff. For instance, this past summer, BLM rallies were pretty large, anti-police brutality, lockdown rallies, whatever issues are closest to those kind of things, you should be at those, not necessarily always to speak or to make your voice heard or to overtake their message, but to be there as someone who's willing to listen and listen to the concerns that your community members are expressing. Neighborhood associations, you should be at Rotary Club meetings. You should be at Chamber of Commerce meetings. They have lots of meets and greets. They even will put on candidate nights. You need to be at those. Nursing homes. That's for the, I guess, older crowd is a nice way to put that. The Democrats and Republicans bust these people to the polls to vote. No joke. So why don't we just go and chat with them? Not maybe right now because of COVID, but once this stuff is over, that's a different avenue that a lot of libertarians don't take. Colleges and high schools, again, especially with colleges, a lot of them are, they are 18 to 21. That's the most impressionable time where you can get them in politics. They really do well with us. They like us. We're not old and decrepit yet. High schools, you're getting a lot of them before they even turn 18. And while it might not be valuable for you right then, it can be valuable for your next race. And you have to remember, a lot of 17-year-olds might turn 18 before election day, and that makes them eligible to vote. Your fundraising and budget. Your campaign launch event should absolutely not be on Facebook. Do not make the first announcement that you're running for office a Facebook post. Do not make it a Twitter post. You need to have an event. You need to put together a party. This is a celebration. This is you saving the community. What would Batman do? Batman, who's saving the world, would have a party, duh. So you need to have a little party, and you need to have food, you need to have drinks, you need to have people there. Aim high, invite Queen, invite everyone. Definitely invite the media. And even if there's not many people there, let's say there's 5 people there, then oh well, you're still going to take a video of you with your campaign supporters, and you're going to announce your campaign, and you're going to ask for money in that first announcement. You're going to ask for money when you're canvassing. You're going to ask for money in phone calls. You're going to ask for money at events. You're going to ask money at your county, state, and national events. When you go to national convention, hi, Joe Bishop Henchman, can I have some money? You need to do that. When you're at your county level and you're the only person there, you're going to ask your waitress if you can have some money. You're going to ask in every single social media post, every single email, you're going to have a link to at least a link to your donation website. And you can also sell something. You don't have to go crazy and sell drugs or anything, but you can sell these cool bumper stickers. There was a libertarian a couple of years who did that. He just hashtag Taxation is Theft, sold them at a profit, raised money for his campaign. There's plenty of things us libertarians will buy. We like anything with a porcupine on it. Or hell, you can go and just fleece the ANCAPs. Go make it yellow and black. They'll buy it. But you need to definitely be raising money. And then you need to write a thank you note. Laura Epke is so great here. Kara Schultz is another person that's really great at this. But you need to write a handwritten thank you note for those donations. It's much easier to get a second donation out of someone than it is to get a first. So if you're grateful and you send these notes, and write something funny, write something personal. Every time I got a donation, I wrote something in my notes, something personal about them, so that way I could put that in my note. And if anyone here follows me on social media, I 100% harass our former vice presidential candidate, Spike Cohen. And so when I write him notes, I put memes in them of him or his nipples. But that's another professional, personal thing you can do. As far as your budget goes, these need to be planned out immediately. Your literature, your emails, your data, all of this needs to be not only planned, but the budget for them needs to be planned. Things like this is kind of expensive. So the things on the left are things that people, they think about more often than not. The things on the right, though, event registrations. A lot of people don't think about that. It costs money to go to parades occasionally. It costs money to get into fairs or to have a booth. You need to have that budgeted. T-shirts and yard signs, that definitely needs to be on your budget, especially if you're going to do parades and you have candidate or campaign volunteers with you. You want them to be wearing shirts. Highway signs, billboards, that's something that, maybe in your area might not work for you, but if it does work for you, it's something that needs to happen. Your consulting, I mean, again, there is no such thing as a free consultant. So you need to make sure that you get on that. Staff, even pizza for your parties, that needs to be budgeted. Timeline, this is important. You need to have your campaign announcement. Obviously, that's first. Have a written timeline of your finance report due dates. These are really important because your opponents are going to attack you if you don't get those in on time. Your weekly benchmarks, things that you want to get done with your voters, a timeline of your events, and your press release schedule. That's super important. You want to make sure you have press releases going out every couple days. And your paid media start date. So when you're going to start paying for ads and when you're going to stop. Now let's get cooking, right? So what makes a great candidate? Doing all of those things, right? Sounds like a lot, but it needs to be done. You need to have some skin in the game. This needs to be important to you. Again, my reason was my son. This is important. He's important to me. He's my skin in the game. Your announcement needs to be top notch. Again, those Facebook announcements are not, your opponent's not doing that. Let's just say that. You need to be ready to go. If you have looked at all of this stuff the past 45, 50 minutes and said, wow, I haven't done half of that, then maybe you should wait until next time and learn and really get going. That way, when you try for maybe your first or second time, you're really ready and you're giving you're giving yourself to voters that know that you can do the job. You need to be ready for crisis management. Again, if they find something in your past, or maybe, you have a criminal record, you need to be ready for that. You need to be ready with debate preparation. In Ohio, we play a game called Who's Driving, and we have someone who is asking the questions, someone who's answering the questions, usually the candidate, and we try to get them, hey, I heard you smoked weed back in the day. Do you also kill babies? And, and then you play back and you can take control of the conversation back. It's a fun game. It's available online. I believe Carla Howe came up with it. It's called Who's Driving. You need to have your stump speech ready to go. This should be so practiced that your family and your friends are annoyed with hearing it because you say it so much. A 1 to 2 minute speech of why you're running, what your goals are, and why they should vote for you. That should be ready to go. You need to have your volunteer recruitment and management on point. That makes a fantastic candidate. You need to have plenty of volunteers. Too many libertarians run, and if you can't get a volunteer to at least help you, then how can you get people to vote for you? You need to have students and interns ready to go. This can help. I mean, a lot of campaigns will qualify for some kind of credit for these students. So bribe them. Shit, fuck it. Endorsements, that makes a great candidate. Not many candidates win without at least an endorsement. You need to have candidate surveys filled out, ready to go. Your campaign manager should know your issues well enough that they can fill them out for you, but do not ignore a single candidate. Even if you alienate 10 voters, those 10 voters can talk to other voters and to other voters, and we can't afford that. Your mailers need to be out, ready to go. And that I'm also going to include just regular lit, turn-off lit in that. Those are imperative. Compliance, I know we hate this word super much. We hate it so much, but we do have to comply with a lot of the laws. What's your filing date deadline? How much is it going to cost? What is your report, your financial reports? What are they due? Those need to be, they need to be followed, because if not, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. And then who can you help when you're in jail? And your attire, you need to look cute. You need to look nice. You need to look like you would vote for you. You need to really care about what your voters are seeing, because for a lot of people that's important. It might not be important to us, but it's unfortunately important to them. So final tips. There's a picture of me. Save every single number in your phone. Every person you come in contact, take their number down in case, you know, maybe you want to call them and ask them for another donation. LPAction.org has a lot of resources. Head over there and you can get every single thing you're going to need off there. On Facebook, they have a Facebook page called Campaigns and Elections. They have a lot of resources, all of them. And remember, our favorite Teddy Roosevelt said, nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, and difficulty. I have never in my life envied a human being who led an easy life. I have envied a great many people who led difficult lives and led them well. If it's not hard, then you're probably not going to be successful. If it's easy, you're probably going to lose. So work hard and get it done and make us proud and show your community why our philosophy is not only important to you, but important to the future of this country and your community. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I know I talked fast, but I appreciate you. I got all of this in an hour because I talked that fast. So you can listen to it back and just slow it down a lot, and then I'll sound like a normal person. But thanks a lot, guys, for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Kryssi. We're gonna open up the questions. Can you hear me, Kryssi?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, we're gonna open up the questions. First, I want to apologize to you and the audience. We had a number of audio issues where you're cutting out a bit. We did test the audio prior to this, but I didn't test it on sustained speaking. And I made a mistake in the end and didn't switch the screen, so they didn't see your first few slides. So if you could email those to me, I'm gonna send them to all the participants so they can review the slides, please. So
yeah, absolutely. That's what happens when you're the guinea pig, right?
Yeah, I gave you the first slide. It's definitely the toughest. All right, I don't see any chat questions. If anybody who's on virtually would like to ask a question, please use the hand raised and I will unmute you so you can ask your question. But first I will go to the room. Does anyone have a question for Kryssi? Billy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and it's somebody else. I was just in my notes here, right before retire, she said compliance, and I was trying to write the note. Can I run that by me again?
Kryssi, can you run by the what we were talking about with compliance again real quick?
Yes. So with compliance, you're going to want to make sure that you are ready for all of the due dates for your financial reports. You need to file on time with the required amount of whether it's signatures or money. You need to follow all of those rules because if not, you're not going to be on the ballot. I've seen people get kicked off because maybe they don't exactly live directly in their district. That needs to be complied with. And while we hate complying with all of these, you know, crazy, stupid laws, we have to in order to better our community. We can't do it from jail. Your financial reports definitely need to be on time. That's a big one that we kind of fall hard on as libertarians, but we do need to get those in on time. And we need to make sure that we're spending our money on what is supposed to be spent on. There was a candidate a couple cycles ago who bought a bunch of gym memberships and like thousands of dollars worth of pizza. At the same time, we can't be doing that. We need to show that we're responsible and we're fiscally responsible and that we are agreeing to follow the laws of our community.
Our next presentation actually covers that. Our treasurer is going to go over APOC reporting requirements and how to stay out of jail. So it's going to be a good transition. Someone else had a question over here? Emma?
Hey, Kryssi, it's Emma. I follow you on Facebook, and I was.
Hi, Emma.
Just how much does it cost you, Kryssi, to send all those press reports?
Really good question. So I know I send out probably close to 100 press releases a year. So wouldn't you know, they're actually really cheap. It costs $0 to send out a press release. And when you think, oh, but what about the list that you need? Let me tell you, you can just go to each news website, take time, but you can go to each website and get every single reporter's email, and you can make that your list. You don't even have to buy one. It costs $0 to put one together, $0 to send it out, and $0 for you to communicate with them when they ask you to do a story. Now, You might not get hits on all of them. That's fine, but you need to stay in their line of sight. They're not going to care if you send them a press release once a year. They need to know who you are. They need to know you're persistent. I sent out a press release about cleaning up a park, and they came out to watch me clean up a park. Now they were late, so we threw the trash back on the ground and had them watch us clean up that park. But that was free.
Thanks, Kryssi. And
So in 2016, I remember there was a presidential candidate, Daryl Perry, who was running and he was taking Bitcoin donations, and it was a bit disruptive because at the time, I don't think there was any real legislation or rules about Bitcoin. It was at that point new. And I know now you can't take it. I don't think they're letting you. Is the Libertarian Party doing anything to try to change finance laws? Maybe this is a better question for the next speaker. But to change in terms of compliance, they put these rules up. Are we fighting those in any way? Is there any way we can fight them on a national level?
So I do know that Jorgensen did accept crypto. So the way, and I'm thinking that maybe the next person would know this a little better, someone with national. But as someone who is an avid crypto trader, I'm actually doing really good with Dogecoin. So in order to take Bitcoin, you have to be willing to convert it immediately because the value changes so quickly. But I do think that they are working on, I don't know about national per se, but I do know crypto is being talked about a lot more, and that there are different I think, applications, websites that you can donate your crypto and it'll turn it into fiat money, and then it will go to the candidate. I do 100% agree with you that this needs to be something that we should be already taking on. But I'm not sure if that's already in process, or maybe that's something you can definitely bring up to the LNC. I think that would be a really good email for them.
yeah, there's actually someone here you should probably talk to about that, and that's Apollo. He's from the LNC, and he can probably tell you a little bit more about that, or at least tell the right people. So when Apollo's here later, talk to Apollo Pizzelle.
Yeah, the LNC doesn't listen to me. I tried petitioning all of them to and not make our little mascot the porcupine. Our mascot should be John McAfee. If that's not a libertarian, what is? They didn't listen to me though.
Oh man. All right, Kryssi. One more question before we move on to Sienna. I know she doesn't mind us eating up some of her time. She told me so. But my question for you, and this is because here in Alaska, we as a board have talked about it. We think we're going to be very focused on local and state running, not so much federal. We want people in assemblies and city councils and school boards, like I was elected to start showing people how libertarians govern. So keeping that in mind, because I don't want to scare away too many of our candidates here. You know, when I ran for the school board, I did not have that 12-person campaign staff. Nor did I need it for my 10,000 person town. So talk a little bit more about the scalability for local levels and how a lot of that campaign staff and stuff you were talking about doesn't necessarily have to be there to win locally.
Well, yeah, absolutely. As far as local races go, and like you said, 10,000 voters, you're obviously not going to need all of those people. Your event person can be also your scheduler, also your, you can have people having multiple hats because they're not going to have to do as much. Like as far as fundraiser, that can also be your events person. So you just need, I would say, for a small race, 10,000 people, at least a core team of 4 people. Like I would say yourself would be one as the candidate, a campaign manager, a campaign treasurer, and someone who can coordinate all of the rest, because maybe there's only 3 events all year in your area. Then you don't need a dedicated events director. Maybe there's only going to be out of 10,000 people in your area, maybe only 2,500 or 3,000 vote. Then you aren't going to need a bunch of volunteers to door knock for you all of the time, because you're going to get those doors knocked out like that. So when you're talking about a small, tiny race like that, then you can have maybe 4 people. I mean, obviously, more hands make lighter work, but you don't need to have 1 million people. When we're thinking about 1 million people, we're thinking that if you're running I'm pretty sure Anchorage is one of your big cities over there. If you're running for that big city, you're going to want more people. But if you're running for tiny little baby cities, then you're going to have less people. We have my candidate that I ran when I talked about the rats issue. She only had like 2,000 people in her whole district. Her team was made up of me, her husband, and my husband. And she got second place in the 4-way race. So in her first election ever, and she's young and she just moved there. So, I mean, it definitely can be scaled. You just definitely want to cover those bases. So if that means that your event person is doing your scheduling, then that's totally fine. Or if that means that you're doing your own events because you have the time to do it, then that's fine. You just want to make sure that you have support and that you're not running around with your head cut off, because how are we going to put that cute little libertarian fedora on if you don't have a head?
All right, thank you, Kryssi, very much for your time. We're gonna leave this section now, take a 10-minute break so everybody can refill drinks and I can play with audio. And then Cian, our treasurer, is gonna talk about keeping you and your treasurer out of jail.
Bye, everyone.